August 1944. The oceans had become a fearsome battlefield. 1 in 5 U.S. submariners was killed, making it the U.S. military's deadliest job during World War II.
Submarines in World War II had a major impact, particularly in the Pacific, against the Japanese. Actually, submarine personnel were only made up about 1.5% of the entire Navy's personnel, but they accounted for 55% of the actual shipping sunk during that time.
One submarine, the USS Flier, was traveling near the Philippines in the early hours of August 13th when Commander John Crowley received a top-secret communique. Intercept a Japanese convoy traveling down the Palawan Passage. To reach the convoy in time, the Flier needed to travel at top speed through the nearby Balabac Strait. The Allies were cautious of Japanese sea mines lurking below the surface of this route, but another submarine had identified what was believed to be a safe passage earlier that May. As the Flier entered the strait, Ensign Alvin Jacobson came on watch.
So I was on the, what we call the cigarette deck, which is the after part of the conning tower. You could see land on all 3 sides of you. We hit the mine. We're going at 15 knots and the bow went and just drove it right straight down. So I was in the water swimming and sucked under, and the only thing I could think of it is that propeller's coming around. Okay, so I swam to the surface. 15 seconds, maybe 30 seconds at the most, and it was gone. You were swimming.
15 survivors, many of whom were injured and covered in diesel fuel, gathered around Commander Crowley to determine their bearings.
So they know that there's islands on 3 sides. They have 3 options. One is Comoran Island, which is only 2 miles away, but it's tiny. If they miss it in the dark, it's 40 miles to Borneo and you're not going to make it. There's Balabac Island, which is very large, due west, but the Japanese are known to have a garrison there. So the chances that they're captured are almost 100%. And then there's this string of tiny islands to the north. So they decided, we'll head north, hopefully we can find food and water. We are not ready to surrender to the Japanese yet.
Captain Crowley got us together and we made the gentleman agreement that everybody's for themselves. You're not supposed to ask for help or anything like that.
For many, injuries and the exhausting swim proved too much.
Lieutenant Casey, for some reason, he couldn't swim on his stomach, he could only swim on his back, and he couldn't see. And this one time, he got quite a ways from us, so I went over to get him, and I said, just rest and put your feet on my shoulder, and I'll push you back to it. Oh, God, he fought. He wouldn't think about it. Less than an hour later, I was looking for him, and he was gone. He just swam off to one side and gave up.
Dawn came, and of the 15 men who surfaced after the explosion, only 8 remained. At last, a small island came into view on the horizon.